Hi everybody, welcome back. This is Professor West. In this video, we're going to talk about adding forms into your database. So once again, I invite you to follow along. This is the one that we have posted at the very beginning. And I'm just going to walk you through creating a quick form. So I'm going to pick any table that I want the form associated with. You don't have to actually open it. You can just have the table. So let's say appointments in this case. And then you go up to the Create tab at the top. And then you click in the forms. We click Form. This creates a form for you. It's pretty generic the way it's set up right now, but we can fix that later. If the tables are connected, you sometimes get a couple of additional subforms that pop up that you can see. This one over here has a lot of information in it. We can ignore all that for now. Okay, so the first thing you want to do after you create your form is save it. This is my appointments table that made the appointments form. So I'm going to call this, I'm just going to go right in and tell it to save it, and I'm going to name it appointments form. That way I know it's the form that deals with the data for the appointments table. So it's always a good idea to give it a really good name so you know exactly what it is. When you click OK, it's going to create a new section down here called Forms. And every form that I create now is going to go into this section. So if I create, a form for each of these tables, they would all be listed down here. By default, it creates one field on your form for every field in your table. So right here, I know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in my table. I'm going to go ahead and open it and show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But let me show you something interesting. If I come over here and add a new one, let's say I want short text, and I'm going to name it, let's see, rename it something like, I don't know, test field. Okay, so I have this new field here called text field, which I can enter information into, blah, blah, blah. When I go back to my form, test field is not here. Once you've created the form, creating new fields does not add it to the form automatically. If you do so, if you do it the way I've done it here, then you have to go in and manually add that field onto your form. So to add an existing field, I'll show you what to do. So while we have our form up, we have these up here with the red. They deal specifically with this form. So we're going to click on the one that says Form Layout Design at the top. Form Layout Design. And when you click on it, you see that you have a lot of new options here. One of them says Add Existing Fields. So if I click that, this brings up my table, and I can see all the fields that are listed here, and I can say, oh, there's my test field. If I click that, it would add it right down here to the bottom. Now I'm not going to do that right now. And the reason is because I'm going to go back in and delete that off of my table. And I don't want it to be on my field, on my form, linked to that table if I'm going to delete it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Let's see. I'm just going to click on it and click the delete button. And yes. Now remember before I told you that it's not a good idea to delete fields from your table. This is the reason. If I had connected a new one here to that one, it would still be here and still try to be connected to it, which could cause problems. And I don't want to do that. Okay, so let's say that in one of these fields you want a drop-down menu. So let's say right here in the veterinarian field. Why not? So if we wanted a drop-down menu, we call it a combo box. It gives a list of choices instead of having to type them in manually. So if we had 9 veterinarians, we might not remember all their numbers. But if we just have a little box we can click on and a list of those veterinarians pop up, then we can pick the one we want. So we have to go to the Design tab. And we have to click in the Controls group here, which is the group that's right in the center. See how it says Controls at the bottom. And then we need to select the Combo Box command. They don't have names on these, but if you point to one, the name pops up beneath it. So this one here is the Combo Box. This one will be a list, and this is a Combo Box. Then you have to click where you want it. That didn't work. Okay, let's try that again. Let's double click it. Okay, now I've got it. See how it looks like I'm carrying it with me down here? I come to the one where I want it, and I click, and it brings up this wizard for me. Now the wizard can be very helpful. It's got a few choices here. I want the combo box to get the values from another table or query. So if I choose this one, then I can tell it what table and what query to get the values from. So if I had all of the states listed and this was going to be the state, I could choose that option and tell it to go find those instead of having to type them all in manually. Or I could click on the I want to type in the values that I want box. Either of these are actually very common. But I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to just tell it to, I'll just tell it to go ahead and pick them manually. So now it comes up and it asks what do I want it from, which table. Well, I'm in appointments, so I definitely want from appointments. And it asks if I want it from tables or queries or both. And I want the veterinarian number. So I'm going to click next. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So just clicking on it doesn't do it. You have to come over here now and click this top one, and that'll move it over. And see how it's over here. That tells it that that's the one that this combo box is going to work with. If I selected another one and put it over there, it would try to work with both of them, which can be a lot of options depending on what it is. So, what order you want to sort them in, ascending or descending? Really doesn't matter. And do I want to do it by ID or by veterinarian? Again, it really doesn't matter. It's up to you. I'll just leave it like that for now. And click next, and here they are. So those are going to be my options. Also, when I click next, now it comes up and it says remember this value for later use or store the value in the field. I'm going to click the store the value because I'm going to tell it to store it in my table as the veterinarian. So when I click finish, now it comes up and there's my field. So this is my appointments box, remember? That's why when it showed up with several. So now I'm going to get rid of this one where it says veterinarian, and I'm going to get rid of this one. And I can come in and rename this one by right-clicking on it and telling it, I can rename it that way, right? Okay, so double click on it, and that would let me put veterinarians. I'm just going to put veterinarians. And now, when you come over here towards the bottom, look at these little bottom ones. You have, this one says form view. You can't see it because it pops off my screen there. And this one says layout view, which is what I'm in right now. If I click form view, this will be how the form looks when it's running. And when you click the drop down, there's several different choices. And if I go back to the layout view, it's here. So this is something that you're going to have to play around with. But it can be a lot of fun. You can add a lot of interesting stuff. And that's all there is to it, to creating forms. So you can also move them around if you don't want the extra space at the bottom, so that when you go to form view, there you go. So anyway, this is something for you to play around with and have some fun with, and I will see you in the next section. Bye, everybody.